when we, and I would call upon my second speaker, when we hear about Latur, immediately we think about that devastating earthquake in 1993, those rubbles and those things. But later on, the city bloomed, it developed a lot. And from there bloomed our very own Dr. Yogesh Niturkar. Dr. Yogesh is a homeopathic consultant since 16 years and has 13 years of teaching experience in Department of Organon of Medicine. He is one of the crucial team member of NJH, and he is the recipient of award from Homeopathic Doctors Association of Maharashtra in the category of the most popular teacher from Marathwada region for the year 2017. Dr. Yogesh, please.
Thank you for a wonderful introduction, sir. I hope my voice is audible to all of you.
Yes.
Before I begin my presentation, I would like to thank Banker sir for a platform that he had created for me, so that the cases that I am going to share and the process that he was talking about, the manner, the approach, the strategies for management of dermatological cases or any other chronic diseases or acute diseases, the follow-up management, as well as the remedy response that one has to consider. So sir has given a beautiful platform for me, so it will save my time in terms of explaining the philosophical aspects of homeopathic management of chronic diseases. So we will start presentation. Dermatology, backbone of homeopathic practice, NJH webinar that we are having on alternate Sundays. In that, today I am going to present various skin conditions in practice. Before I begin my presentation, I would like to dedicate this presentation to the masters because of whom I am in front of you. They had a very great role in shaping me as what I am today. So these are the four great personalities. I was unfortunate to meet Sarla Sonawala madam because I was in school at that time. But whatever I have heard about these personalities, they had a great impact on my life, and they means I owe my presentation to them. So the presentation that we are having today will have objectives, caselet. So this is the manner in which we are going to go throughout the presentation and learning, and what kind of thought process I had in terms of these presentation and the working model. Before we start to any presentation or any webinar or seminar or conference, the first thing that we had been taught is to set some objectives. Without objectives, we will go haywire and it will not yield results. So what we have to do is, in terms of understanding what we are going to learn in this presentation, the primary objective that I had set is to demonstrate how to practice standardized homeopathy in general through evidence-based case module in the field of dermatology in particular. And the secondary objective that I had is to evolve how knowledge of physician influences analysis and therapeutics. The third thing is that how to identify and define the potential of homeopathy in various skin conditions having a recurring tendency. So what sir was trying to focus upon, I am trying to just make it little elaborate in terms of how we can achieve success in homeopathic practice by following certain protocols, by following the process what sir was saying. So this is the first case that we are going to see. Master TK, a 3 years old boy, single child brought by his father. On 19th of May, this case I had seen during the lockdown time. Father and mother both are illiterate, working on daily wages. And the chief complaints that were presented here were complaints are since birth. The skin is thin, fragile and sensitive. Slight touch, scratching leads to injury. and that leads to exfoliation and bleeding. It starts as a boil. The whole pathology is of slow healing that takes 1.5 months to 2 months to get it normal. It is a costly allopathic treatment is required during this continuous phase, and whatever local application is done, it is painful. The child screams, cries, and after 2 to 3 hours, it settles to normal. And can you imagine this frequency of complaints is for 4 to 5 times in a year? That means almost a year, whole pathology lasts 1.5 months to 2 months of duration to get normal. And this kind of frequency is 4 to 5 times in a year. I was shocked with the presentation of this disease that we will see. I was moved. Being a sensitive physician, I was moved to the appearance of the disease. So the local examination that was evident: premature aging, fragile wrinkled, exfoliation was there. You can easily see the epidermis, right hand, it was fragile, exfoliation was there, bleeding, clots were there, and we can easily see the edema as well as the tenderness. So this was the presentation. Anyone can move, anyone can get sensitized with such kind of appearance. When we are seeing such cases for the first time in our life, especially the disease diagnosis that we are having in this case. So it was a diagnosed case that came to me. Diagnosis was made by a dermatologist called as Gottron Sarda. Patient's father took opinion from the concerned pediatrician, and after assessing patient's rare disease and the need of long-term treatment, the pediatrician, who happens to be my friend and a patient, he referred this case to me. Now, this was the first time which I heard the term, with a humble submission that I am making here on this platform of NJH. This was the first time that I had heard the term. So the rare diseases website talks about this Gottron syndrome or the acrogeria. You can refer that. Now the state of physician, as well as the demands that are on the part of physician that one needs to understand. As I had mentioned, I was sensitized towards the boy and his suffering. I had no idea about this disease. And I was thinking about what kind of scope of homeopathy is having in such kind of chronic diseases, as well as the rare inherited disease condition. So as we are aware that a homeopath is always having a habit of accepting challenges. So I accepted this case, and as we are living up various aphorisms, especially with reference to the aphorism 1 to 6, the mission, the manner in which cure has to be achieved, as well as the various knowledges that are needed, and the need of having or being an unprejudiced observer underlying with a clear-cut idea about what kind of causation is there and what kind of preventive measures we can undertake or we can suggest to the patient as a person. So with this, as I had mentioned, the case was during lockdown time. I had seen this patient in the waiting room itself. So I took photographs and entered into cabin, read acrogeria, and then case definition was done. Because it will give us to understand or to differentiate between the pathological generals or the characteristic symptoms that are there, or whether the symptoms are qualified or unqualified or common symptoms in that. So this was an opportunity for upgrading knowledge of physician, and I was very happy to read about the disease, and that I was in a tune that yes, I have got a new case, a different case, a challenging case. So as we are aware that during case taking in aphorism number 84, Kahneman had itself mentioned that the physician records observations, whatever observations are there that are made by the attendants as well as by the physician. And in next aphorism, it is also mentioned that after observations are recorded, the physician reverts back to all the complaints, whatever observations are there, and then he goes to reconfirm it so that a holistic picture can be discovered or a holistic image can be discovered. A true picture can be discovered. So a short case taking was done. This is the summary of what interaction we had, and obviously what findings we are getting or what findings we are going to get into a child of 3 years. It was a information, factual data, and at some level it was interpretive also. Father said, means I am directly narrating it, that the child is shy, calm by nature, he is timid in front of other than family members, he follows what parents or doctors instruct him. This was something which was uh, again a concern for me, that a person with such kind of obedience or such kind of instructions that he is following, and he is suffering from a disease which is a rare and incurable one. So he takes his own care while playing or doing activities of daily living. Means at the tender age of 3 years, where a child is not able to understand what is going around, he is taking care of himself and doing all his activities of daily living with that precaution so that he would not get injured. So he behaves like an elder than his age. Again, these are the things that was more giving a route towards, or what we can say, that it was trying to build an image in front of me. So the next thing that was is patient desires sweets. Again, it is a common in children, especially those who are in remote areas. Profuse perspiration in general, and father said that he is having constipation and takes too much of time on daily basis. So 30 to 40 minutes he used to take for passing his motion. So that was the thing. As a physician, I made some notes. The important one or the things that are there, I am mentioning here. Fair complexion, large head. He was reluctant to show his hand and unclothing. You can see in the earlier photograph that the father was holding his hands together for taking the image. So you can see here. So he was not in a position to show his pain. That what I tried to understand from his behavior. Another thing, that he was comfortable with his suffering. Means I was sensitized, and you can feel that pain, or you can just imagine that what kind of pain, what kind of sensitivity this person might be having. That when the upper portion or the epidermis has been scaled off, it is bleeding. There is tenderness, and still he is not showing any signs of discomfort. So a hard constitution, I was feeling that he is having a strength, or he is not showing that he is in pain. So that was the thing that I was interpreting. The next thing, mother's obstetric history was normal. Data was not available because other files were not with him. But he said that it was normal, no, or it was uneventful, the whole 9 months of period. Milestones were normal. Family history, past history was nothing significant. So this is the case. So what I understood from whatever data was available, patient as a person at disposition level, at pathology level, he was calm, shy, timid in front of others. A responsible behavior, a mature behavior was seen. So I interpreted it as a precautious. At physical level, perspiration was profuse. He desired sweets and constipation. The next thing, at pathology level, we can understand that it is an inherited disease. from the knowledge of disease, we can understand that it is an inherited disease. Patient was comfortable with the pain. I hope you are with me. The pain, patient was having comfort. He was tolerating it. There was ability to withstand pain in painful condition. Another thing about this disease is of premature aging. Next slide, I will explain that also. The skin is fragile, delicate, sensitive, and the pathology is of slow healing. Definitely, it is going to take time. But again, my prejudice related to slow healing, because again, the frequent probable or the probability of being injured or being scratched at exposed area. So, the results will show that how it can change or how it can work as a miracle. Now, in this case, as Banker sir had also mentioned that we should know the process, and unless and until we are not aware about the process or the manner in which we are going ahead, we should concentrate upon the whole case processing part, like analysis of the case and evaluation. So the diagnosis criteria, I read about diagnosis criteria. So NORD is National Organization for Rare Diseases. And in that, under this disease condition, it has mentioned that when we are initially excluding all sort of common skin conditions, at that time, after clinical examination, we can confirm the disease, that is acrogeria or Gottron syndrome. So this is what it is mentioned under the NORD criteria for diagnosing this disease condition. From homeopathic point of view, the disease classification is of chronic type. It is local disease, what sir has explained in his presentation. One-sided disease with physical symptoms. Now the pathology that we are having here is of autosomal recessive and autosomal dominant inheritance pattern is seen. And in that, the inheritance of a non-working gene from a parent is seen. And only one child of this parent is suffering from such kind of rare inherited diseases, as it is documented. As it is a rare disease, again, too much of data is also not available here. And we can understand the pathogenesis from homeopathic point of view that it is a structural, reversible, incurable, but recurring type. Now, as we means the moment I read about this disease, what we can give to this patient, in what way we can help him. The moment I understood the pathology, I just equated it with other recurring type of diseases, whether they are curable or incurable. What we do, if curable, it is favorable. But in incurable diseases, at least we can manage such kind of acute episodes or the recurring episodes. And the results have given me a confidence that yes, homeopathy is having that potential to deal with such kind of incurable cases, and it can minimize the duration of acute episodes or the recurring type of episodes that are there. Now, the seat and pace of disease that we are having in terms of understanding the disease, it is a congenital disease, deep-seated and non-progressive disease. So from the pathology, from the pace of disease, seat of disease, we can understand what kind of role homeopathy is having, or what kind of problem definition we can do in such kind of diseases. The totality that is available to us is pathological journals are there. There are 2 to 3 physical journals and 1 or 2 mental journals that are interpreted. We are interpreting them. as the dispositional level. The child is yet to groom. The child is yet to become elder. So whatever facts are there on that basis, what your observation was made, so interpretations were derived. Now the miasmatic understanding, what in earlier slide also I have mentioned, the travel from SORA, psychosis and syphilitic features are also there. So, but the predominance is of psychosis that I was able to understand. And the anti-miasmatic remedy that was in my mind was of Thuja. And sir has rightly pointed out, banker sir, I thank you for that. He had rightly pointed out that we should think of intercurrent remedies, we should think of miasm, and we should not get deflected or we should not get distracted in terms of the process that one has to follow in managing a homeopathic case. The correspondence that I was looking out for managing this case was total. The disease is non-progressive. So the prognosis is, from that point of view, it is good prognosis. General vitality was good. Susceptibility low. Sensitivity was at moderate level. So these were the things that I thought about therapeutic problem definition and the resolution. I hope the idea behind the manner in which a case has been approached is becoming clearer. Now, what kind of objective we can have in such kind of rare diseases? Symptomatic and supportive therapeutic management can be done, and we can reduce the cost of treatment. We can reduce the local application. What again I would thank banker sir. Audience might feel that how many times he is thanking banker sir, but definitely he has explained it very well that we should avoid such kind of local applications and suppress the expression of disease, which may mislead in future, which may lead to some sort of change in the direction of disease, or it may lead to suppression also. And the new disease we may give because of the local suppression that we are making while dealing with such kind of rare diseases. So a caution has to be taken to avoid, to get tempted to apply local application. And this case has given a confidence in that way. So I repertorized. The method that I had used was a cross repertorization method. I used both softwares, Radar as well as the Zomeo one. I thank both of the manufacturers as well as the brainchild behind these two softwares, because of whom it became easy for me and many like me for making repertorization an enjoyable ride. Whenever in doubt, though the remedy was getting clearer to me, Cilicia, we know the sphere of action of Cilicia in skin diseases. We know the dispositional features of Cilicia, but still we should refer to repertory, and it is easy to refer nowadays because of such kind of beautiful tools. So I took this totality: timidity public about appearing in, precocity of children, sweet desire, profuse perspiration, constipation, sensitiveness of skin. I was looking out for a fragile skin, and to my surprise, only 2 remedies are there, and only Murphy mentions about these 2 remedies and the rubric that is coming with these two remedies, that is petroleum and silica, and he talks about skin, fragile skin. And in that, after looking Cilicia, I was happy. But again, after applying thermal filter, patient is chilly. I think it has been not mentioned in the slide. Patient is chilly. So the moment we apply thermal filter of chili, Lycosis, Lycopodium will get filtered, and Cilicia and phosphorus, the 4 remedies that are prominently coming ahead, were there. So silicia was there. But my mind was wrestling. What kind of role silicia is having in such kind of diseases? So I referred various books. I referred Materia Medica books, and in that, as we are used to refer multiple books, so I referred Kane's lectures on homeopathic Materia Medica. And in the first few lines, first paragraph, I got my answer. Such are the long-acting, deep-acting remedies. They are capable of going so thoroughly into the vital order. I think someone's mic is on. Please mute yourself. So I was astonished. Many times I had read silica from Kate, but maybe I had missed this important factor, that it goes so thoroughly into the vital order that hereditary disturbances are routed out. The silica patient is chilly, rest of the things are known to us, but the hereditary disturbances are routed out. I referred dictionary for what is the meaning of routed out, and in that it came as to defeat. So silica can defeat hereditary disturbances. So that is what I found. As mentioned in the earlier slide, the potency was low, repetition was infrequently. So I selected Silicia 30 single dose weekly for 1 month. And I was not expecting anything because the disease is of chronic type. So case definition was done on 19th of May. After 12 days, I got WhatsApp message from the father. This is evidence. On 1st of June, see the same hand. And after 28 days, that is on 16th of May, sorry, 16th of June, typing error, 16th of June, date is on the photograph also, you can check it. So on 16th of June, this is the state of his hand. I was happy. He is still with me. We are managing this case and he is responding very well. So this is what Silica 30 can do in cases which are rare, inherited diseases, congenital diseases. So what homeopathy has to offer in such kind of diseases? Now see, the child who was shy, the child who was not showing or unclothing himself, now he is showing me. On 16th of June, he showed me his rest of the body. He unclothes himself. So this is what homeopathy can do at dispositional level, at pathological level. So the duration was reduced from 45 to 60 days to 28 days. So we are in a position to cut down the duration. That means we are able to cut down the suffering of that individual for so long days. And from management part or from treatment part, symptomatic to holistic, painful to painless, costly to cost effective, and limitations to scope, again screams to smile and hopelessness to hope. That was what I learned from this case. So this was the first case. We will move to the second case. This is already published in NGH. 14 years of boy studying in 8th standard, belonging to poor socio-economic status. Skin disease had impact on the activities of daily living, education, sports, and work. The case was, I was a supervisor in this case. My elder sister-in-law, Dr. Manuja, had taken this case and I had supervised her in the whole making of this case. So you can see the right palm, there is a fissure, erythema is there, exfoliation is there, and on examination there was tenderness. Right foot and left foot, bilateral soles, well-defined plaques are there with thick scales, deep fissures, tenderness, exfoliation, and dirt was seen. So this was the presentation. The complaints were noted down. Earlier complaints were also noted down. Only for the time consideration, I had not added that slide. So in this way, the case was recorded. The complaints are since 2 years. Intensity moderate. Itching was there. Painful plaques were there. So deep fissured cracks, as I had already mentioned. Now, patient as a person, glimpse of the data that was available. Patient is a calm. He is having good IPR, interpersonal relationship with others. He is average in studies, obeys commands of elders, doesn't have any hobby, prefers to play with his friends, but rarely gets any time. Occasionally demands for desired things. And the skin complaints, since the onset of skin complaints, he was finding difficulty in terms of doing his activities, work, study, gardening, and other social and leisure activities. So that was the hindrance. The physical journals that we had, moderate build, dark complexion, perspiration was mild, aversion to sweets, meat, and the thermal state chilly. So this was the details that were available. Now, what is available to us in this case? Expressions at physiological level that talks about the pathology. At mind level, we can see hypoactivity, and at pathology, we can see the overactivity. Now, from where these are coming? So, the understanding that we had, there are only 3 characteristic physical journals. There are lack of qualified mental journals. So, the sector totality that I thought was in terms of location skin, pathology of autoimmune disorder, and the overactive immune system. So we can find the discrepancy between hypoactive mind and the overactive pathology. So let's see the disease diagnosis and miasmatic understanding. Palmoplantar psoriasis. So the diagnosis considerations are well known to all of you. In terms of miasmatic considerations, psora and syphilis was coming there. That is the tubercular miasm, what Roberts has called. So the family history is known that the father is also a psoriatic patient. So the hereditary influence and the affected location of skin, autoimmune disease at an early age. So the classification of disease that we made was chronic, susceptibility moderate. So the potency was 200 selected in this case, and the repetition strategy was infrequent. So I thought, as in the absence of qualified mental symptoms, we should go for a Bonninghausen's method of repertorization approach. So this was the totality that I had considered. And let's see the repertorial sheet. So sulfur, graphite, sepia, rust ox, and silica. Again, we are coming up with silica in this case. But the first 5 remedies, after applying thermal filter, sulfur was eliminated. Then graphites, sepia, and rust ox are closely coming up remedies. So the remedy of choice that I had, means we had after a discussion and after referring to the Materia Medica, we prescribed graphites in this case. Now, in terms of quality of life assessment, there is one form, there is one scale that is called a Children's Dermatological Index, Quality of Life Index, CDLQI, Life Quality Index, CDLQI, Children's Dermatological Quality, Life Quality Index. And in that, there is a questionnaire of 10 points. And after going through this questionnaire, whether the skin is itchy, scratchy, sore, or painful, and the marking system is done. What kind of embarrassment or self-conscious, upset or sad, How much has your skin affected your friendship, changed or worn different special clothes, shoes because of the complaints of skin. So this is a rating scale that is used by dermatologists. After recording this, the score was 16. So how is the scoring method done? So very much is 3 marks, a lot 2 marks, a little 1, not at all 0, not relevant 0. And for question number 7, which talks about prevented work or studying, it is 3 marks. So the patient score was 16. So the scoring method is also given from 0 to 30, and interpretation of what we had in this patient, that is 16. It talks about very large effect on patient's life. So as a homeopath, as a student of research, can we use such kind of tools so that we can assess the subjective disturbance and what kind of role homeopathy plays in such kind of disorders that we can see. So we can evaluate with such kind of scales. There are n number of scales. So the scale, number of atoms per scale before and after. I will show the scale first and then we will go towards the follow-up. So you can see the score is decreasing. It is having a decreasing trend. So in first follow-up it was 9, in second 1, and in third it was 0. So let's see the first follow-up. Itching was ameliorated. Cracks were there, but it was, again, the pain was less. On examination, fissures were healing. There were signs of healing. Tenderness was reduced, but the exfoliation was same at right foot. In left foot also you can see the changes. You can see the change, drastic change in right palm. Okay, so Graphitis 200 single dose weekly for 4 weeks was given. And after 4 weeks, this was the stage. This was the state of the patient in second follow-up itself after 1 month of treatment. Right foot, right palm, left foot. You can see the change. Same strategy, Graphitis was given. I was not in any sort of hurry. Remedy was acting. It was producing results. So there is no hurry to jump on another potency or to jump on repeating the medicine. So it was continued. This was the third follow-up. You can see there are marked changes and the patient is moving towards cure. Now this was the fourth follow-up. So at this time, I had not repeated medicine. Bilateral palms and foot, no fissure, no exfoliation, no tenderness, no erythema. I advised him to report as if needed. If it initiates again, no treatment was given. And the total duration of treatment was only of 3 months. Graphitis 200 single dose at night time, 12 doses, 3 months, and this is the result. Now the question might arise, this is a recurring disease. What about the recurrence? So my dear friends, you can see the change. He is not on any sort of medicine. He is off treatment. He is working in farm. So on 2nd of October 19, you can see the change. On 25th June, you can see the change. And as I had planned to present this case, so I asked him to send his photographs. And on 5th of November, 2 days back, he had sent me the images, and you can clearly see what kind of state is there. So there is no recurrence. This is what homeopathy can do. And it is, means we should thank to the modern technology because of which we can share the result with evidences. So the learning that I had derived in these two cases, that homeopathy as a profession carries a challenge, but the possibilities of its art is infinite. And this is what Dr. H.A. Roberts has mentioned in his philosophy book, The Principles and Art of Cure by Homeopathy. And I was able to live up this quotation, that both these cases carried a challenge, and the moment we had applied the art and science of homeopathy, it was seen that the possibilities of its art is infinite. Both the cases are with me. Both of them have become friends. Both of them are sharing their pictures whenever I ask them. And I take follow-up from them also on telephone. Or just I text, how are you? Is there any complaint? Once in a while, whenever I get a recall of the case. So what kind of thought process we are having in the application of principles and practice of homeopathy, that we will see. We need to make anamnesis, restudy of the case. We should restudy the case record. We should restudy the presentation of disease. As Sir has also mentioned, man in health and man in disease. So the integration, we should be in a position to integrate whatever data is available. And we should be able to arrive at the simillimum by following a certain process. And we should be able to judge the remedy response. And all these things are based upon logic. What kind of reasoning we are having, what kind of thought process we are having, so that the results can be produced. So the next thing, the working model that we follow, or I am working upon, is that the physician has to be a keen observer. He should be very keen in making observations, because observations play an important role in the process of learning. Observations are nothing but the facts that are given in the homeopathic mathematics, and they give us experience of standardized homeopathic practice. Because of observations, we cannot make a protocol, or we cannot go for a standardized homeopathic practice. We have to be very much keen in terms of observations. And we should be able to derive correlations with clinico-pathologic concepts, with psychopathologic concepts, because all these things, when we integrate them, it becomes our part of continuous learning. And if we focus upon these aspects, it is nothing but the extension of our knowledge levels. We are expanding ourselves. We are extending our knowledge levels, so that we can take tri-coordinate care. That is to say, knowledge care, patient care, and the learner care that the founder, Dr. M.L. Dhawale sir, had worked upon. And the followers, the disciples, our teachers, even Vishpala madam had a keen desire of taking this tri-coordinate care. And we had seen for 3 years when I was posted in her OPD at Palghar. So the integration of all these aspects will help us. It will extend, it will expand, it will extend our knowledge levels. So observations are very important. They play an important role. You can refer this in Dr. M.L. Dhawale sir's symposium volume in the introduction part, Atlas part 1. And it is a very beautiful work. Knowledge can be gathered from such kind of work, and it can be applied in our day-to-day practice. And this is our working model, in tune with the time constraints that we are having, that we have to finish up within time. If you have any questions related to this presentation, you can feel free to communicate. You can take a screenshot of this. You can text me, you can mail me, and I will be privileged to share, to learn what is there. Now, before ending towards the presentation, what NGH has played or what kind of role NGH has having in my life. Up till now, I have written 88 articles, and out of that 88 articles, my second article was of NGH. The desire to write was inculcated within me by two persons. One is Dr. Kumar Dhole sir, and the second person is Dr. Vishpala Parthasarathi madam. The first article was written under the guidance of Kumar Dhole sir. The second article, my dream was not fulfilled. I don't remember the titles of remaining articles, but I will definitely not forget the first two titles. The first one was Taking Homeopathy to the Community, published in Homeopathy for All, and the second one, My Dream Was Not Fulfilled, a diabetic case that I had written. And from there, first article, Kumar Dhole sir under able guidance, and then the second one with Vishpala madam, and now I have reached to 88 numbers, and the 89th article is again I am writing under the guidance of Dhole sir. So this is the journey. Why NGH? What NGH has played for me? It has given me a platform. It is nothing but an extension of my family. मैंने मैडम का नमक खाया है during my postgraduate days. And I had seen her. I had visualized the dream. I had felt that dream, the concern towards students, the concern towards writing article. Means I was a novice in the field of homeopathy itself in 2003, and she forced me during the OPD, Wednesday OPDs, that you should start reading articles, start reading journals. And the habit was inculcated within me by Vishpala madam. She is responsible for all the whatever Satish sir had said about me in the introductory part. Because of that habit of reading, means what kind of approaches are there, what kind of knowledge is shared in quality journals like National Journal of Homeopathy, and that paved a way towards perfection. The learning that I had under the guidance of the stalwarts of homeopathy, various homeopathic fraternity members within ICR, outside ICR. Even Ajit Kulkarni sir is there. I had learned from him also. So the team, we are, as I'm saying, that it is an extended family that we are having at NGH. It made me an author, first reader, then follower of journal, then representative of journal, my first subscriber of journal, then author, then life member of National Journal of Homeopathy. Then I became associate editor. Means see, from 2003, she had taken me by holding my hand, and she had made me a associate editor. And it is privilege for me that I am a team member. I am contributing to the faculty of homeopathy, and I am contributing to generate knowledge pool under the guidance of Parthasarathi madam, Asrani sir, Bhatt sir, Ajit Kulkarni sir, Praveen sir is there, Garge sir is there, Vrushali, Fatima, Satish, Shobha madam is there, Sushma is there. So under, and the remaining EB, the editorial board, under their able leadership, I am learning a lot.
Oh.
I thank you for allowing me to present what I have learned. The mistakes that I have made in the presentation, I have own it, and the results are of homeopathy and not me. I am just a medium. I am a media for applying that logical science, and I was able to see the results, and it is because of homeopathy. Mistakes are owned by me, and whatever opportunities are there that are created, that are thought about me, and it is solely because of like-minded people like Vishpala madam and her team member. She is constantly with us. Before the presentation, she called up and wished me a best of luck. And I think that best of luck has worked for us. Thank you, madam. Thank you, whole Engage family, for giving us an opportunity to present in front of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Yogesh. It was a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful presentation. Really amazing, amazing. Now, can we take the questions? Brushali?
Dr. Satish, Dr. Satish.
Yeah, Anji, yeah, Dr.
Before we go to the questions, you can go to the questions, but I want to request the audience that all the doctors who are, if they have any questions after the session also, if there are anything, they can contribute it to the, write it to the, or their feedbacks also, write it at the Engage Telegram group, so that both our speakers will reply over there also if there are any other queries. Of course, we can go at present, but later on, and even their feedbacks also. Yeah, Dr. Satish, over to you. Please unmute yourself.
Go to the queries. Brushali? Hello? Brushali?
Yes, Satish.
Yeah, queries.
Anju?
Questions.
There is one question by for Dr. Yogesh sir, that why he selected 30, Salicia 30, lower, why 30 potency in the first case. Dr. Yogesh.
Yes, I will answer. In due consideration to the inherited disease, congenital disease, and the susceptibility that was assessed was at lower level. In that, the nature, the pace of disease was considered, and on that basis, what 5 criteria Stuart Close has mentioned for posology, in that tune, I would request to read chapter on homeopathic posology and susceptibility written by Stuart Close. In that, he very clearly mentions about the manner in which potency is selected. So, in that reference, I had prescribed 30, and see, we need, means the patient will need homeopathic medicine for lifelong. It is like a armamentarium that we have to use it very cautiously. So I started with a low potency with respect to the susceptibility understanding of low.
Okay. One more doctor has asked, what has happened to the constipation? What was the response at the level of constipation in that first case?
Yes. Constipation was also, means the duration of constipation, means the passing stool was also reduced to 15 minutes, and it was later on ameliorated. Started, means the moment he saw that it is painless treatment, the confidence that he got, and after that everything was setting towards normal, means the dispositional features were also getting corrected with Silicia 30.
Very good.
There's a question for Dr. Banker. After giving constitutional medicine, when the acute symptoms come or previous symptom come, then which medicine to be given? Again, give constitutional or acute medicine as per symptoms?
Well, I think you have to wait first and see how the acute symptoms are going away. If they are return of old symptoms, my observation is that usually they go away on their own without you doing anything. Follow-ups with the patient is very important. And the more follow-up that we do will give patient also confidence that the doctor is looking into my case seriously and he knows exactly what is happening to me. This is point one. Point two is, if the acute complaint is very acute, means the patient is not able to tolerate, then we think of giving a complementary medicine to the previous medicine and see if he feels better. or occasionally I take help of biochemic medicines like ferrum phos or calimore or whatever is indicated. Basically what we need is to pass the time, because the acute will always reach a peak and it will come down. So reaching a peak is what that we have to look at, because the acute will definitely come down by any means. And so this is what I do usually.
It's a great concept, sir, because the next question is again the same. A student has expressed astonishment as she's saying that acute medicine देना ही नहीं है, sir.
नहीं देना है if it is a necessity, but always evaluate first before giving that acute medicine. Because see, what is important is the similimum. We have selected a similimum 0.1, which is extremely important, and we have done this with lot of efforts. Now when that similimum is given, then the return of old symptom, if we are talking as acute as return of old symptom, then we have to give it some time. Or maybe you can increase the potency of the similimum or go a little bit lower in the similimum, so that you are not moving away from the right remedy. My point is, moving away from the right remedy is important. So if we can increase the potency of that particular similimum, that increased potency itself will take care of the acute. Why do we need a separate acute remedy if the same remedy which you are giving as a similimum gives a curative response? So, but always remember, in acute, look at whether patient is trying to make you prescribe a remedy. So we have to be very much unprejudiced and aware that patient should not be as vivacious and want us to make a forced prescription. That is one aspect. And second is, really the patient is sick and you want to make a change in the prescription. These are two different aspects which we have to look into. And if the first aspect, that is patient is forcing you to make a prescription, give him placebo, let him take placebo 8 times a day, or mix it in water and take sips of placebo, and go on following up with the patient so that he doesn't become worse and he is satisfied that the remedy is given. Point one. Second, if the problem is really acute and you will have to interpose something, then my first thing is, remember second prescription. It said stage of no interference, point one. And second was stage of interference. In second point, stage of interference, if you have to interfere, then what does second prescription say? Use the same remedy. And the second part is use another remedy. So first thing that we do is use the same remedy and maybe a little higher potency, which will take care of the whole issue. And if the same remedy in higher potency does not work, then you give the same remedy or you change the remedy. And there comes the different aspects like complementary, intercurrent, miasmatic, cognates, and all those remedies that you may have to look into. So it is not that you have to do something, but you have to change the remedy or you have to give the remedy first, but we have to evaluate whether it is necessary to make a change. That is very important. And if we make a change in cases where the change is not necessary, then we may disturb the whole process of cure. I hope that answers the question.
Absolutely. Very nice description, sir. There is one more question for you. Dr. Banker, can food of white color can be taken as per Ayurvedic literature? It will increase the vitiligo. Sir, what is your opinion? Also, red colored food would help to increase the pigmentation like tomato, beetroot, etc. Sir, your opinion on this also?
I have no experience on both these two topics. Yes, according to Ayurvedic literature, not taking sour food or fermented food is there, which I follow and which I advise to my patients. But regarding the white and red color, I have no experience.